different than how I usually am. Come on. I had a wisdom tooth out yesterday. And it hurts and I can't eat hardly anything and that just doesn't help. My increasing irritation with a number of things on our agenda, but I'll just won't get into that yet. Just breathe deeply. And I know it's not here. That is. I was moaning the other night. I was just like, oh my God, I need a vacation. And my son said, Mom, you can't have a vacation. You know that. And I was like, thanks a lot. What is it out of the mouth of babes? Yeah, thanks a lot.
Just what you need is your kids to belabor the audience.
Yes, yeah. Actually, we're going to Mountain Bike State this weekend down in Durango, where I fully intend to just sort of wander around in this beautiful mesa where it's held, and sit in my little camp chair.
Well, there you go.
And have no cell service. It's just so excited. It'll be wonderful.
Just so before we get started, everybody knows when we go into executive session, we're going to go upstairs to the conference room so that we can have a closed door. And then we'll have Christian will be on the. I've got my computer up there all set to Zoom her in.
Oh, that's nice. Get $150. I don't know why I haven't.
I think so.
All the mics, yeah, they're all live. You can tell because of it's green. So just to remind y'all to speak into your mic when you talk, please. Because we have to listen, beyond the mask.
And Diane, I realized after our last meeting that really I wasn't very good at paying attention to the Zoom portion of the meeting. I think I probably didn't call on some people appropriately. And I think Tracy was, waving at us. But I mean, it's because I wasn't, my focus wasn't enough on the Zoom screen. I almost wish it was
In front of you.
well, maybe. I mean, that's probably overkill.
So I try to stand up to
Yeah.
get your attention when someone
Please
needs to speak.
just yell at me or walk over and slap me or whatever you need to do. Get my
Without
attention.
violence.
Especially if somebody has a comment.
Well, we try to be polite and raise our hand.
Yeah, well, polite didn't work, sorry. Is everybody's ready to go? We can go and get started. It is 6:01, and at 6:01, I call the city council meeting of October the 19th, 2021 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Lobby,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Green,
Here.
Councilmember Gowing,
Here.
Councilmember Lauritsen,
Here.
Councilmember Hill,
Present.
Councilmember Forgensi,
Present.
Councilmember Tharp.
Here.
Thank you very much. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion, please.
Gowing moves to approve the agenda. Green seconds.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. All were in favor. At this time, we have housekeeping matters. I do want to, I put this on the dais. This is something the county, I've actually been talking to the county commissioner's office for a couple of weeks, and I knew they were thinking of implementing it. They have done that. I would like for us to implement it as well. I will put something together. Unless somebody thinks it's not a good idea, I like that they're including everybody who's been vaccinated, and then they will also then offer that bonus to anybody who gets vaccinated. Okay. I would like to do the same for the city and just kind of mirror what they've done. We had talked about a $200 bonus, but they were over 150, and I don't want to do something different than what they've done, so.
Sounds good.
The only other note I have is we have an IGA from Christiana for the housing director, IGA between the city and county for a housing director. That has been passed on to the county a few days ago for their review. And it's in draft form now. So, we'll see how that goes. But we really want to get an IGA in place so that we're in a position to hire a housing director when the time comes. Are there any other housekeeping matters? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on then. At this time, is there anybody in the public who would like to speak to City Council on topics that are not on this agenda? If you would, please come up, introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes. Seeing none, thank you. We have 2 sets of minutes here for our approval. The first is for October the 12th, 2021. Actually, the first is October 5th. Let's do it first. October 5th, 2021. Are there any issues with those minutes that we'd like to see corrected?
On page 2, the 9th paragraph, public hearing for certificate, there's just a clarification needed after Heather Glide. Just a word missing, I think, maybe.
Yeah, like instead of no, there were no comments.
Yeah,
Also, Councilmember Fergensi's name is misspelled on that page. On the paragraph just above it.
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other changes? Then I would entertain a motion, please.
All motions to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting on Tuesday, October 5th, 2021,
No second.
With suggested changes.
with the suggested changes.
Thank you very much.
No second.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. All were in favor. Next up, we have October the 12th.
On page 2, down towards the bottom, the paragraph CM Tharp brought up last week's request. I think I said DOLA, and were those DOLA funds, or I think I maybe got the name wrong.
The presentation was by SCED.
Okay,
I don't remember if they were DOLA funds. They weren't SCED funds.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that,
so it was by SCED about DOLA
Yes.
funds, so that is correct then. Okay.
any other possible changes? Then I would entertain a motion, please.
Yeah, I move to approve the special meeting minutes for Tuesday, October 12th.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Loretton abstain.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have department reports. We will start with police department report.
Good news is the police department is our recruiting efforts. Currently, we have 5 police officer applicants. One of them is post certified. 4 of these applicants are academy trained. They're all local residents. They all have housing. They all lived here for a number of years. We've also hired, or offered a job to an additional full-time administrative assistant. who is also a local resident, is possible. Feel a big need we have here. One of the police officer applicants, Mr. Will Martin, has been hired as a community service officer, pending his successful completion of the application process. Waiting for his psychological, taking that tomorrow. Should be able to get something back in the next few days. The applicants are Will Martin, he's age 41, married, 2 children, 20-year Marine Corps veteran. Formerly worked as a bartender here in town. He's coached girls soccer for the local school district. He was a 5th grade school teacher. He's going to need to go to the academy. He is willing to go to the academy in the spring. Live in Gorham. So he's accomplishing that.
Oh, well, actually, that's a great point. We're going to have to, there's no way for the audio to pick up anybody who's not at the podium or at this, on our dais. So I apologize. Or can you use that microphone? If you can, that would be better.
Yeah, that'd be.
How's that?
Moving all that
Good
paper.
catch.
I'm being recorded now.
Pardon? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, all right. Maria Porzel, she's 22 years old, single, no kids. Currently works at Tractor Supply. Previous work experience at Skeet Cooper. She's a local resident. She is also willing to go to the academy down in Glenwood Springs in January. Next is Devin Connell, age 31. First child due any day now. If the child hasn't arrived already, I don't know. Bachelor's degree in civil engineering, extensive work experience overseas in Africa and Latin America. He speaks some Spanish. His wife is the director of Get Outdoors Leadville, also a local resident. Devin is probably going to be going to the academy in Breckenridge in May, assuming he gets through the hiring process for obvious reasons. Becky Carey, age 39, single, 2 children, high school graduate, currently works as a long-term special ed substitute here at Lake County School District. Works several jobs locally. She's an avid outdoors woman, also resides in Leadville. She will also would be able to go to the academy in Breckenridge. She has young children to take care of. Shelby Phillips, 23, single, high school graduate, some college, completed her Colorado Post training at Pueblo Community College. Previously employed at the Lake County Sheriff's Office, currently works at security at St. Vincent Hospital. Pending the completion of her hiring protocol, she'll go directly into field training. Joanna Lopez, age 25, single, 2 children, high school graduate, and currently works as a lead teller at First Bank in Silverthorne, bilingual Spanish, English. She accepted our job offer for the administrative assistant position on the 15th and will start here on the 25th, Monday. Just so you know, the academy costs, total cost for sending 2 candidates to the January classes is going to be held down at Spring Valley campus. And their Glenwood is $20,480. I have a breakdown of the cost if anybody would like to take a detailed look at that. It includes housing, and we have to buy a meal plan. And they'll be living in dorms down there for the duration of the academy. For the 2 candidates, hopefully, that we send to the Breckenridge class, that would be a cost to the city, $9,600. Total projected 2022 academy training cost is $30,080. This is just assuming we don't have any more applicants during the year, but we could very well have more down the road. So, new hire training plan. Due to the intense competition for police officer job candidates, our plan is to hire each of our current applicants as soon as they complete our selection protocols and begin a pre-academy training process. All right. We are proposing, the mayor and I have talked about this, creation of a new job category. Tentatively, we're calling it community guardians, but we could change that name depending. Which will provide new hire police officer candidates with an opportunity to serve the community in a civilian capacity, receive in-depth instruction on topics not covered in the academy, setting and experiential training on critical policing tasks such as de-escalation, conflict resolution, report writing, etc. Their duties would be as follows: work in pairs while patrolling the community and marked police vehicles to provide a police presence. Duties would be limited strictly to observation and reporting of suspicious and/or criminal activity within city limits. Provide traffic control assistance, major incidents and/or events within city limits. Conduct frequent foot patrols of the Harrison Avenue Commercial District as community ambassadors. And participate in pre-academy classroom training and training exercises. We didn't reinvent the wheel here. Denver PD has a similar civilian position called civilian report technicians. And they are authorized to take the following reports: burglary, theft from motor vehicle theft, theft, shoplifting, criminal mischief, graffiti, bicycle theft, identity theft, found property, lost or stolen property, including checks, credit cards, or checks, credit or credit cards. This type of a program would really take quite a bit of the workload off of our sworn officers and free them up for more emergent calls or things that require a post certificate or an arrest. This would keep our applicants, our new hires engaged during that lag time between the initial job offer and going to the academy. This first group, we'd like to look at this as a pilot program to perhaps make this like a permanent job. There are a number of people out there that might be interested in like a civilian position. They may not be sure about whether or not they want to pursue the full-on police job, but this might be an opportunity to afford people an opportunity to get their foot in the door, get a taste for police work, see what it's all about, serve the community. I've been speaking to Ben Cairns at CMC about developing a program for high school kids leading up to the age of 21. This type of a program would allow us to engage younger people that aren't old enough to be police officers, but between that age of 18 and 21, this could be a position that they could fill to serve the community, provide a needed service. And then when they become old enough, if they're still interested, we could slot them right into the academy. So we could get them engaged, get them to know the department, find out what police work is like, get a taste of it. The other thing, benefit of this is that in the event we have somebody that gets hired and changes their mind, they get into this and they find out they don't like the work or for whatever reason. It's good to find that out before we run them through a police academy. This is kind of a good opportunity to give people to test the waters, and see if if this is really something they want to do. And then we don't end up wasting taxpayers' money sending people to an academy, and then they find out I don't like this. So that is what we are working on. The pay rate during their participation in this program would be the training pay rate of $53,000 a year. With benefits, because they would be working full time. And again, we have an opportunity to really get them squared away before they hit the academy. We can give them basic firearms training, arrest control techniques. The biggie is report writing skills. And they could get these things ironed out, these bumps in the road fixed before they get to the academy, which would increase the likelihood of them being successful during the academy training. So that's the big news on recruiting.
Wow.
Any questions for the chief about that? I do have a couple of quick addendi to this. The chief and I spoke at length about trying to get an academy up here in January, either in Leadville or in Breckenridge. And because the academy is going to be remote, we'll have to, put people up, and even then we can't get all the people to participate at this time. We were, let's just say, the powers that be were less than interested in our request, and so they declined to act on our request. And what we told them is, we have 5 people. We'll pay if we have to. We'll pay for all 8. Because that's what they need to put on an academy is 8 candidates. They weren't interested in helping. I'll just leave it at that. I was very disappointed, still a little disappointed, because I think they could have responded to our need, but they just were not willing to do that. Nonetheless, regardless of what the reason is, we were not able to accomplish that. And so I am pleased that we have two people who are willing to do the room and board Monday through Friday at the Academy in Glenwood Springs. And and then we have one person who's already post-certified. If all these people, make it through the gauntlet of psychological examinations and physical examinations, then we have 5 candidates. But this is I'll just call it a slow burn. We don't know of any quick way to try and resolve the issues that we have. And we have in the past gone to academies and recruited people to come here. That has been unbelievably unsuccessful. In case it's not obvious, it just doesn't work. So I think that the chief's idea of let's focus on local people who live here, who want to serve this community and become police officers, let's do that. And I think that's the right direction to go.
So Commissioner Edwards, I just think this is creative and really seems like a potentially amazing idea that would solve a lot of problems here, both in the short term, perhaps in the long term. But just to make sure that I'm understanding you correctly, prior to going to the academy, these people, if they were hired, could operate as community guardians and could take reports, gain extra training, could issue tickets in some standards? No, they couldn't do arrests or tickets.
No.
But they could do
Could
some
take
of the
theft
footwork.
reports, burglary reports, basically reports where there's no suspect,
Mhm.
or very little suspect information. What's that? Yeah, no evidence, because they won't be trained in evidence collection.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I would add that the chief and I met with the sheriff today, and there was about 5 of us in the room. But one of the things we've agreed to is we need to let the public know where we stand. Both departments are in a bad spot, and we don't know of any quick way to get out of it. Okay. In the meantime, I think the creativity of community guardians may help. And may show a presence that doesn't currently exist. So I think that's helpful. Hal and Amy are going to put together a joint statement. And my offer is I'll put it in a newsletter form and I'll send it to every household in Lake County. And we'll do that. They've committed to having that by next Tuesday. Or at least Amy has.
She has.
Okay. And then as soon as we have that statement that everybody's agreed to, then I will put it in a newsletter form. And as we know, it takes about 2 weeks from the time I send it to Terradel by the time it lands on people's in their mailboxes. But that's our next step as a joint effort to inform the public of where we are and where we're going.
Could we make sure that goes out in English and Spanish?
Yes, absolutely.
Mayor, is there any concern that sending it out to every household may be perhaps not the right idea?
That occurred to me, but I would say that both the commissioner and the sheriff feel like it is the right thing to do. So I'm going with their gut instincts.
And the only reason why I say that is that if we're saying, hey, there's nobody out there to patrol our streets and we're at limited capacities, that's not going to be, I mean, all the people that are law-abiding citizens shouldn't be a problem, right? But the ones that perhaps aren't, and I don't know what that percentage is, 1%, less than 1%, I don't know. Is that a ticket for people to be a little less?
Well, I haven't seen, I don't know what the sheriff is going to write. I won't know till Tuesday. But I would not want to say that there's not going to be police or sheriff. I think that my vision for this is to state that if you have a non-emergent need for police services, and then a brief listing of the types of non-violent property crimes, like, vandalism, right? Or a broken window, a rock through a window, or, theft, something that doesn't need immediate, and immediate police response, it would be what I would be willing to sign off on. I wouldn't get into, we're not gonna have a police presence, because that's not the case. It's just gonna be, calls will be prioritized, and those on the lower rungs of the prioritization are not going to necessarily get immediate police service. I think that's the way this should be crafted. Which really is, a lot of agencies do that now. There's quite a few larger agencies that have non-emergency phone lines, where if you don't have an emergency, you don't call 911, you call this other line. Quite a few agencies have policies in place where if you've got a minor police report or something like that, you just go to the police station, or you go online and you file the report there. So this is not necessarily something brand new.
Do we have that capability to file online for folks?
Not at this time.
Okay. I mean, it would be nice if we give them the options, yeah.
I
If
agree with you,
it's-
Jane. Yeah.
And I think part of that too, we have to make sure that dispatch is trained appropriately to know that, okay, here's the prioritization. And yeah, if it's vandalism,
That was brought up at the meeting, and it was recognized that the dispatchers are going to require some additional training and ask some additional questions to make sure that the protocols are followed.
thank you.
Would the community guardians be able to do wellness checks?
Yes.
We also have a co-responder who can ride along on wellness checks.
Mhm.
Well, this is like the best news we've had in a long time.
And
Well, so, believe me, Hal and I have been meeting more than once a day for weeks on this. So, I think the effort is a good one, but I think we need to talk about the sheriff's letter. And Hal and I both have some very strong feelings about this letter, but I'm going to let Hal talk about the letter right now. And we did meet with the sheriff today and with 2 of the county commissioners. So this was also the topic of discussion, and we can go over that. But Hal, would you please respond to this letter?
Yeah, I went through this line by line. The discussion with the sheriff really didn't change much in the way I view this. I'll just get right into it. Paragraph 1, the sheriff says, quote, "Many functions the city is relying on the sheriff's office to provide." My question to that is, where's the data to support this assertion? Which functions? Frequency of occurrence. Now, in all fairness, she did provide us with a list of 50 different report numbers, case numbers, during our meeting. But these are just numbers. It doesn't tell anything about the nature of these calls. Were they emergent calls? Were they routine calls? Are these just burglary? What are all these numbers? We here at the police department are not able to go into eForce and print out a report like the ones that we make for ourselves for these meetings, where we have the details of the calls and all the information. We would have to get that information from the sheriff's office, and my administrative manager Shannon here has reached out to them to try and determine exactly what she's talking about here, and they still haven't responded to us. So all I have is 50 report numbers that I don't know how we're going to dig into this and find out what it, exactly what it is to get a clearer picture, because we can't view it from that, like they can. So moving on, paragraph 2, she says, At that time, the department had 3 1/2 officer position filled out of 8 budgeted. This was back when Sage Bertolos was here. Since then, the city has hired a new commissioner, me, in lieu of a police chief, and the staffing level of the police department has dwindled to 2 1/2 officer positions. My interpretation of this is that she seems to be suggesting that my presence, my arrival on the scene has resulted in one officer leaving, which is really not an accurate description of what happened. This particular officer, from the day he set foot here, he's wanted to get out of here. He told me himself that he applied for Eagle County Sheriffs at the same time he applied here. And in fact, he had been dismissed from the Sheriff's Department before he was hired here on the police department, and he was dismissed with cause. So I would submit to you that this was really somebody that was a problem employee and was lucky to get his job here, thanks to the mayor, and then show his way of showing appreciation for that, getting that second chance, was to resign and go to Eagle County. So that's the story of him. Another sentence here: the recently hired commissioner is unable to act in the official capacity of chief of police, as he has not obtained current post certification and is unlikely to obtain certification for several months, further challenging resources with the ability to provide policing. Well, this statement begs the question: was I hired to be a patrol officer or take the lead in rebuilding and leading this organization? The only tasks that not being post certified prevent me from doing are patrol activities. And I want the city council to know that as shortly after I got hired here, I submitted my paperwork to Post to apply for the Refresher Academy. On September 29th, I got a letter from them saying that I had been approved to attend that academy. And that very same day, I tried to apply for the academy and couldn't apply because they closed off the applications because it was too close to the start date, which was in October this month. So due to no fault of my own, I have to sit and wait until April to go to this 2-week Refresher Academy. But in the meantime, this is not going to prevent me from managing this organization, getting this community guardian program off the ground, recruiting people, improving the policies and procedures here, et cetera, et cetera. So I just question the motivation. Why would you put something like that in a letter? She goes on: most calls for service within the city have fallen to the sheriff's office to take responsibility for. Well, again, my question is, what factual information is this assertion based on? And where is the data to support this claim? If you're gonna put these things out there, my practice is to back it up with data and cold hard facts and not just hearsay, or giving me a bunch of numbers with nothing else on it. So moving on, paragraph 3, and this is probably the most contentious thing for me, is that in the 3 months since the city hired Commissioner Edwards, numerous attempts to contact him have been unsuccessful, literally due to an inability to reach him. Well, my response to that is I have an office on the 2nd floor of City Hall with a working phone. My office is equipped with an operable computer with a working Gmail account. Sheriff Reyes has had my personal phone number since the day I started this job. She dropped me off in front of my house that day, and I gave her my phone number then. When I'm away from the office, I tell my staff where I'm going. The ground floor police department offices are staffed by civilian administrative staff who answer the phone and take messages when I am away from the office. I have absolutely no reason to avoid contact with Sheriff Reyes. And to say that I'm unreachable is an extraordinarily false statement. I've had officers call me at home. I've had officers come to my house and I've spoken to them in the driveway. As I stated earlier, when I was away in California a couple of weeks ago, I had staff texting me for days back and forth about an issue that was going on here. Okay. I have no reason to hide from anybody. If you want to know where I am, and if for some reason you can't get through to me, you can always call the Shannon and they, I don't hide from people. I have an open door policy, and to say this is an insult to my integrity. And I don't know where she's getting this information from. During this meeting, she made allegations that my officers have been out there on the streets and needed me to respond to serious calls. I called my Sergeant Ortega, John Ortega, who's been on night shift most of the time that I've been here. And I asked him, I said, hey, John, have you had, the sheriff told me about these hostage situations and knifings and all these serious crimes where you guys wanted me to be there. And I said, what's going on, man? John calls me all the time. And he said, Chief, it's not true. He couldn't give me one incident where there was a serious crime and he needed my presence where he even felt like he needed to call me. So, and again, I don't know, I have no idea who the sheriff is listening to, but it seems that the person or persons that she's talking to are perhaps feeding her false information. And I have a take-home car, and the reason I take it home is so that if they do call me, I can drive straight from my house to wherever it is. So, and I asked for specifics. What are these calls? When? All this stuff, and I couldn't get an answer. So, I don't know where this is coming from. So moving on, paragraph 4. In this paragraph, the sheriff states her statutory law enforcement duties and suggests that her deputies engage in municipal code enforcement, quote, routine traffic violations and animal control. She goes on to say that law enforcement staff engage in activities such as, quote, supporting local fire and medical first responders, as well as generally helping maintain the quality of life in the city. Once again, I would like to see the data that supports her assertion that her deputies are in fact enforcing municipal codes and or conducting traffic enforcement within city limits. And the police department currently employs 2 community service officers tasked with code enforcement. And many of you know that our code enforcement officer, Joe Swires, is no shrinking violet when it comes to writing parking tickets and abatements and things of that sort. I on a regular basis have to entertain complaints about Joe and what he does. But Joe, in Joe's defense, he's very thorough. He takes measurements. He has an extensive photo library of all these people, all these things that he's done. So to suggest that the sheriffs are actually doing this stuff, I don't know where this is coming from. Paragraph 5. After stating that the police department's budget is quote, $923,000, Sheriff Reyes continues with, quote, it appears due to current staffing shortages, there has been and will continue to be significant vacancy savings that the city reaps while the law enforcement burden is inequitably balanced in the county's shoulders. Well, I'd like to point out that now that the sheriff is losing 3 deputies, she will accrue the money she would have paid those staff members. I understand her predicament. She doesn't have a jail. Her department is having to spend a great deal of money to transport and retrieve arrestees to and from distant jails. I get that, but that's not my fault. The sheriff by statute has to perform certain critical law enforcement functions, and that's got nothing to do with us. It's got nothing to do with me. So, to date, the mayor has informed me that the city has received 1 bill for services rendered from the county in the amount of $5,700, which was paid in full without delay. During this meeting this afternoon, they said basically that the more accurate figure is like $15,000, which the mayor agreed to pay. I'd like to know what constitutes the, quote, law enforcement burden. Where are the statistics indicating the sheriff's office spends an inordinate amount of time enforcing the law within city limits? Doing our respective jobs should not be characterized as a burden. Providing law enforcement services to this community is our duty, and the sheriff's responsibilities are defined by statute, whether her staff likes it or not. So I told the sheriff, I asked her, why didn't you come to me when these situations occurred. If there was some kind of major crime at a certain time, given date and time, why didn't you come to me? Well, why gather this little pile of grievances and then write something like this and disseminate it to the county commissioners and the city council, when I think it would have been more amicable to confer with me as these things occurred so that I could address them with specificity. If you come to me and say, well, this such and such happened and these have been 5 things or this, that, and the other. Well, all right, fine. But give me the details so I can address it. I cannot address performance issues with personnel or get to the bottom of why people supposedly can't reach me weeks later. If you have a problem, come to me when it occurs. I have an office here. As I said, I have operable equipment and phones and things. You can get a hold of me. I'm disappointed by this because these are hard times for both agencies. Both organizations are short of staff. It's very difficult to find good quality people to do this job right now. And that's a nationwide issue. And that's exacerbated by the shortage of housing here in this community and the high cost of living here. And I just don't think that this is a good idea, or a good time to sling these kinds of arrows when we need to be working together to try and provide some level of public safety to the community. That should be the priority, not tit for tat back and forth about this, that, or the other. I harbor no animosity towards the sheriff. I think we should work together. But this is counterproductive. This kind of stuff causes hard feelings. It gets people pissed off. And when it's not based on fact, and there's allegations in here that are in fact not true, do you think that's going to make me feel positively about working with the sheriff? Now, I will work with her because that's my job. But these kinds of things are a problem. And I have, believe you me, I have gone out of my way to not cast any stones towards her department or say anything about her people. She's a professional, that's her shot. But this, in my opinion, is some kind of stunt. And I don't know what the end game is on it. But I'm here to tell you that my only interest is to make the Leadville Police Department into a quality agency that has stability, people that are thoroughly trained to do the job well and serve the community of Leadville. And I'm going to leave it at that, unless you have any more questions.
Thank you, Hal. Are there any questions from City Council? Because there's a lot in this letter to unpack.
I don't have any questions, but I have some thoughts.
Please.
I also was very disappointed by this letter. I find that the petty swipes and the lack of professionalism in the letter is unfortunately par for the sheriff's course. But I am disappointed that the county commissioners signed off on this letter without demanding some edits. While I think the topic of city reimbursement to the county for services provided is absolutely worth discussing and absolutely worth addressing, having that request encased in, just this morass of unprofessionalism is, I'm just really disappointed the commissioners signed off on it. But like I said, I don't think that is unsurprising coming from the sheriff. And if she will be the one to write this letter that will go out to the households, I would highly recommend that everyone, both of you, review it carefully, as she has a history of not coming off so well in the written word.
I'm not going to sign off on it until I read it and see what she's got to say. And I would even, just a suggestion, but I would suggest that the council review it too, or at the very least have an opportunity to check it out and see just what is proposed to be put out there before it actually does. Because you may think of something to see it from a different angle. you know, like you did earlier, you know, it's, you know, I think that should be a collective decision. And I'm comfortable reviewing it and all that, but I would like to have some other folks take a look at it too, just to make sure that you think that the community is going to be okay with it.
Any other questions or comments regarding the letter?
I have a comment, Mayor, if you will. Just a quick question first, commissioners. Commissioner, how many years have you served as a public servant in your career as a police, in the police force in one way, shape, or form?
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years. So I would think that if I was to receive something, working for the federal government myself, working there for over 20 years myself, I would think that this would come as a gut punch. And I understand your how you can take this personally. And I will just say this is, there is a reason why the windshield of a car is bigger than the rear view mirror, right? It's because clear vision in front, you get a little thing, a postage stamp to look in the back. And I really hope that the mayor and everybody here looks at this letter as October 13th, 2021. If it was Friday the 13th, it'd probably be better served, because I want this letter to be the lowest point that the city and county has been in ever when it comes to serving our entire citizens when it comes to law enforcement, period. This is our ground level. I don't want it to go any lower than this. And when you talk about duty, when you talk about respect and integrity, your pride, you know, the teamwork that you're trying to create, right? This is all important to start moving forward, looking out that front window and have that little postage stamp in the rear. We kind of stopped it. He said, she said. There's probably some half truths. She's hurt, you're hurt, everybody. There's work to be done. And I want everybody to stop that and focus on what's important, and that's serving our community in this function, right? And so, I mean, it's tough. You're in a new position. I would just say, when I'm faced with adversity and there's somebody that, for whatever reason, I don't get along with very well, or for whatever reason is just rubbing me the wrong way, I have a new best friend. And I'd really encourage both you, the mayor, and everybody in here to really reach across that aisle and become starting those relationships and in serious, real-rooted relationships where it's not at face value, and you start with commonalities between each other. You have a family, she has a family. If that's the basic level that we have to start with, that's where you have to start. And reach across and start sewing that rift up, because we are at the very bottom of a very big rift, and we have to start patching that up and bringing us together for our community. And that's all I got to say about that.
I agree with you, Max, but I'm going to be mad for a little while yet.
You can be mad. I don't like the letter either.
Just human.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to leave it alone. Trust is something that's earned. Okay. And nobody is going to trust somebody just because. And I came in this job with no harboring, no ill will toward the sheriff's department. You know, I'm completely neutral. I'm here to rebuild the Leadville Police Department and make this a good place to work. So this, to me, it was stunning, quite frankly, because I harbor no animosity towards them. And for her to come off like this is something that is going to take, it's not going to take me time to repair. It's going to take her time to repair. The ball's in her court. Okay. She's shown me that I can't trust her. Now, over time, maybe that'll change, but I'm here to say I will work with her because that's my job. But trust is something that's earned over time. And to start off, I'm only like 2.5 months into my tenure, and to hit me with something like this, come on, let's be real. Let's be professionals. We're all trying to accomplish the same thing, which is provide public safety to this community. And that should be the focus for all of us. not internecine rivalries and he said, she said, and all this other stuff. You know, there's bigger things out there. Let's start thinking about creative ways to provide public safety to fill that time before we can hopefully get some people on board here and trained.
I have a question and a couple comments. Mayor, what was, if any, agreement? It seems like it was somewhat intentional, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like it was somewhat intentional that we knew we were going to have some shortages on the police force and that the sheriff would be taking on some of the extra, especially night duty. I'm actually not sure, I shouldn't conjecture, but take on some of the extra law enforcement in the community. Is that true?
That is absolutely true. And I'm glad you asked that question because I feel like I've had a very good relationship with Sheriff Reyes. I mean, personally, I like her. And Hal and I have disagreed on this. I still trust her, even though I think she went into this very frustrated and misinformed on some topics. I think that there's plenty of room for improvement in the relationship. And two of the county commissioners were in the room today and they got the message. But to your point, I told her, this is like 4 or 5 months ago, I said, whatever you need, okay, to cover us, we will cover in terms of the cost. All you have to do is let me know what it is. And so to that point.
Which would be an invoice to the city to
And
pay
we did get one about a
right?
week ago and I okayed it immediately and we paid it. So
Okay.
the point is that they're in their defense, you know, they're busy too. They're tasked with an impossible task of taking care of this community. They're part of the community and ours, and that's reciprocal. We have to respond both in the city and the county. We're both in a really bad spot, and so they probably simply haven't had time to document. And I told them today, I said, don't feel like you have to document everything. If you want to give me an approximation of times and costs, I will honor that. You know, but so your point is extremely well taken. I've had that conversation several times with Sheriff Reyes and with the county commissioners over, let's say, the last 6 months.
Mhm.
And the message has always been clear from me.
Yeah. And I do think that does highlight. So I also don't love the package this was delivered in, right? There's a lot of unnecessary and hurtful and divisive things said in here. There are some useful messages, I think, which are, we probably do need a written agreement, right? And it, does that exist or is that something we're working
It
on?
was in draft form about 6 months ago, and
Okay,
it's one of those things that got on the back burner, you
Okay.
know, but it was in the works then,
yeah,
and it just has never been completed. So again,
Yeah.
I agree.
yeah.
We should have that in writing, and it should be a two-way street.
Absolutely. I think another message in here is that the sheriff the sheriff's department is facing their own shortages, and there's a little bit of a heads up, right? That they're going to be spread thin as well. And then there is some interesting information regarding things it sounds like they will stop doing. I mean, it implies that they will stop helping local fire and medical first responders and helping maintain the quality of life in Leadville.
Yeah, Commissioner Edwards and I also had that conversation. It's not their option. But
Yeah.
by state statute, you
Right.
know, they have to serve and protect. It's the same for both organizations. It doesn't matter what kind of bluster is in there.
Yeah,
That's not the reality.
okay. It seems like those could have been brought to us in a pretty simple way and certainly a much more diplomatic way, but I do agree that if we can work on those things, it would probably improve that relationship, right? And lastly, I do just really want to commend you, Commissioner Edwards, for the recruiting efforts you've been doing and what you presented to us first prior to this letter. It's creative, it's innovative. It's by the community for the community, and that feels really good to me as a citizen and a representative. I'm really excited to see where that goes, and thank you for bringing that energy and that project to Leadville.
Thank you.
I have a question and a comment.
Yes.
First, I just want to say that I want to assure you that you have my support, and I take everything the sheriff says with a big bowl of salt. And secondly, I do read your reports, and I do see that we also support the sheriff.
We do.
So is that within do we get paid when we support them?
No, we don't. To my understanding, we don't bill them, but there's been numerous occasions where our officers on the street help each other. And I've got, some of it is documented, not all of it is, because not every police call requires a report, or they just may pull up and, provide a presence and not do any documentation associated with that. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. And I've never given any of my staff any direction not to assist, whether it's the sheriff's department or the state patrol or, any officer out there or the fire department.
I suggest perhaps when your officers file a report, that they put in a little CYA paragraph that says Sheriff Deputy so-and-so assisted, so that you have.
They do that.
record
Yeah, they do that.
Going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand the last few months have been a pretty extreme and different situation than our law enforcement agencies have typically found themselves in. And I think perhaps that deserves to be addressed separately with a written agreement. But I certainly don't want to get into the case of where we're like billing each other every month for, we helped you, you helped us, I just don't want to go in that direction. So if we write something formally, I think we should have this time limited thing over when Chief Bertolis and Sheriff Reyes first said, we're going to help in the dark times of the police department.
Well, unfortunately, a lot of this really took place upon the resignation of Chief Bertolis. I will say, even before Chief Bertolis left, I was building a relationship with the sheriff because it wasn't good then. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's been a dark time. The last 7 or 8 months, the very end of Chief Bertolis's. I mean, I had a lot of faith in Chief Bertolis. I was the one who wanted to hire her. We did hire her. I thought she was the right person for the job. But over time, that we'll just say, for whatever reason, ultimately it didn't work out. And I feel a sense of failure there. But at the same time, it was also a very difficult time in terms of trying to think through the management of the police department under those circumstances. Once she left, then Sheriff Reyes and I, were meeting on a pretty regular basis. She offered her support. I accepted it. I appreciated that. I'll appreciate it always. And we agreed to the repayment of services when they had to cover when we were not available. We did start an MOU between the city and county over that. Actually, it was between the city and the sheriff's office, because remember, the sheriff's office actually doesn't work for the county. It's an elected office. And so the relationship there is very different than in the city. I'm sorry. So I'm digressing. There are a lot of things going on here, but I would say this. Commissioner Edwards has given me hope for the future. If we succeed, we're going to succeed together. And if we fail, we're going to fail together. But we plan to succeed.
It's a time right now in law enforcement for innovation and forward thinking. The old ways of doing things are not going to stand up in today's world. The young people that are coming into this line of work are very, very different from my generation. And the things that drew young people like me to this job 20 years ago, it's not going to fly anymore. People want to have a say. Young people want to see creativity. that want to do that, you know, it's not about just driving around carrying guns and ripping and tearing through town. It's more, there's a lot more to this job. And so we have, and when I say we, I mean collectively, the entire police work group across the country. We have to look at things differently. We have to be more innovative. We have to, our recruiting efforts can't, the old way of doing things is not going to fly anymore. And in a community like this, you know, our best interest is to take the time and the effort to find people that are a good fit for this organization and the community. And so I appreciate your patience and support. We've had better luck than I thought we would, you know, to date. And I'm going to continue with this, you know, and I eat lunch with those ladies down there at Full Circle every Thursday, you know, and I want people that are invested in Leadville, that are living here because they want to live here and they want to serve the community in a positive way.
Anything else for Commissioner Edwards? Thank you for the conversation. Next up, we have the fire department report. Dan was not able to be here this evening. Any thoughts or questions on the fire department report? I would tell you while you're looking it over, I was out on Sunday and went to the training center, and there must have been 30 firemen out there in training exercises. It was pretty neat. You know, they had the academy out there, and Captain McCann was out there, and I just went out and you know, talked to them and kind of looked around to see what they were doing in their latest projects, and it was quite a scene. That training center is really going to make a difference in our ability to take care of our community. I'm pretty tickled. Okay, if there are no questions, onward and upward to the street department. I was expecting Tyler to be here tonight, but I don't see him, so I apologize for that. I asked him to be here. Right now, the street department has been doing a lot for the county for the last month. As an example, and we had talked about, we were supplying people to help them with their paving projects. We didn't get around to ours, but that's a different topic. We're out now. We have almost our entire crew. I think 4 of the 5 people. We have one person on vacation. We're out at Halfton supporting the county in their work out there as they regrade and put down class 4 road base on Half Moon in conjunction with the Forest Service to redo that road. So perfect time of the year for us to be doing it, because, you know, we don't have I've got a list of things I'd like for them to be doing, but this is more important. And but I think the point I'm trying to make is we really work hard to work in concert with the county wherever we can, whenever we can, whenever they need us, we're there. And we expect the same, the reciprocal from them, especially in the winter time. Any questions about the street department report? Next up, animal shelter. We have Caitlin and Brenda here. Thanks, guys.
Errors on the report just were dates and days. I wrote most of this on the laptop. So this is our September report. Currently, we're working through the winter cohort shelter play group. So that's a free program. Has 13 different modules, I believe, that covers enrichment, dog behavior, dog to dog play, and different play groups. We're also finishing the shelter hub behavior course. So that goes over everything we need to do as managers, from intakes, protocols, behavior assessments, even behavior euthanasia protocols. On the 13th, we went to Roswell. It's really important that when we bring dogs into the community, we're making sure they're safe for everybody. So Roswell was very full, very poor shelter. They had a lot of adopted dogs that were facing euthanasia. that were social with other dogs and social with people. We had one dog that was going to be placed for adoption, so we pulled some of their highly adoptable dogs, one of which has already been adopted. We've had people come from Colorado Springs, Utah, and even outside of Georgetown to come look at the dogs or are planning to come look at the dogs. We're working with the high school on starting an internship program so we can have both animal care internship programs and admin internship programs. And we're working on end of the year grants. I'm currently working on an ASPC behavior grant that's going to range from $20,000 to $35,000, depending on what they give us. So I'll submit that on the 25th of this month, and we'll hear back by November 15th, and then they finalize it in December. We're also looking at a feral cat trap, neuter, vaccinate, and return grant. So that would help us this spring, because last winter wasn't very intense, with a lot of feral moms and kittens being born under the trailers. The fire department came and helped us out with one such situation. So with this grant program, we would be able to track the feral cats that are living in the woods, neuter them, spay them so they aren't able to keep reproducing, and also give them vaccines so that they're not getting sick or ill. A lot of times, if they're already brought into the shelter, we do that anyway and hold on to them and adopt them out in barn cats. But with the amount of feral cats that we've been seeing, we would not have enough kennels to keep them in our facility, nor do we have enough people that want barn cats that we'd be able to adopt them out. So that's why it would be a return program. And then the next one should say the next one should be a 2022 low cost vaccine clinic and microchip. So last year we were fortunate in Dr. Jeff and his team coming up to do the low cost spay-neuter vaccines. They weren't able to do it this year. I do know Planned Parenthood Level has something in the works, and then we'll get grant funds to continue for next year. We have a current animal count, included some pictures of the dogs on the bottom that we have recently brought in. And then our numbers for September are highlighted.
Well, your numbers for revenue, whether it's September or other months, don't actually make much sense to me, and I'm not sure why I'm not understanding them. Your totals, what are those reflective of? Because they don't seem to be reflective of the addition.
It is the summer report. There are two that are missing, so we're no longer doing the dog rabies. That was being done illegally in previous years. So it has to be a vet that gives the rabies vaccine. We did that for a few months in the beginning, but it's just put more barriers in people getting their dogs back. So that line's hidden, so that could be throwing off some of the numbers, but I'll go back through.
Just look at those again. They don't seem to tell me the story. So that's all. I would like to say I was in the animal shelter the other day. Brenda showed me around. It is neat. It is clean. It is well organized. I was so impressed. And the new floor, of course, is a huge part of that. But that's not it. Floor or no floor. I certainly was under the impression that it is being well run. So thank you for that. And also, all those dogs were so friendly.
Yeah.
Every one of those new dogs was like, you wanted to take it home.
Yeah.
I didn't.
That's the idea. Very cute.
Any other questions for the animal shelter? Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Liquor licensing, this is just a informational piece. If you have any thoughts on it, please say so. Well,
Is there an inspirational piece?
I didn't say that. I said informational. Actually, I might have said inspirational. It depends on how you look at it. Look, there's a bar. I'm inspired. Our next city council meeting. Oh, never mind.
No. You think I'm mouthy now?
Well, we don't have to go to a bar. We can serve right here. We can do shots on every agenda.
Oh, man.
This isn't recorded, is it? Okay. We have the building report. This is Paul Clarkson gets this to us each month, always kind of interesting, and it shows no limit, does it?
A little comment here, not everyone thinks this is good.
Yeah. No,
Which I get.
I get it. Next up, the sales tax comparisons report. I think you're already aware of that. We continue on a very strong trend. I think that would be put it mildly, but I keep saying, we'll see. I think there has to come a time when it at least levels out, but if it levels out at the higher level, that's okay. But I don't, when's it gonna level out, Don?
I don't know. Our
We've been-
next,
we've
I've been,
saying
told-
this for 3 years.
I know, and I've been told our next check is even bigger yet, so.
I think once international travel's kind of
Yeah.
back, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Financials. Any questions on the financials, Donna? Any comments?
I was really just gonna comment on, I don't have a lot to comment on, but the one line item that concerns me, I guess, is the property tax. It's showing here that we got still 37,000 out there that we haven't collected on. Our October payment was $1,000. So I'm just really worried that we're not gonna get much more of it.
And
So,
yet the projection for next year is about $80,000 higher than the projection from
Yes.
last year.
yes, so, I mean, I'm not sure, I don't know, it's just, it's concerning to me.
Who's
A little
that
bit.
projection from?
The assessor, the assessor's office sends us a certificate of evaluation every year.
Hmm.
And I will say that there was $6,500 that was in an abatement on that tax, that certification of values. So, but even at $6,000, we're still lacking about 30,000. And we got 3 months left, or 4 months, I guess. But
Do they pay any of that in arrears, or is that typically paid on the month that it is appropriate?
it
for?
is in the rears. I would assume, I mean, I'm not quite sure. When I talked to Patrick many years ago, I mean, his statement that I get from him, I'll get the September statement in October, so I'm assuming that that's property tax taken in September.
So we could have 3 months of property tax still forthcoming, although it's not looking like it's going to be another
Yeah.
$30,000.
Yeah, the last one was $1,000, so it just seems like a little low, but other than that, I do want to tell you that, I've been busy trying to get all these renewals done, for workers' comp and health insurance and all that kind of stuff. And I do have some good news on workers' comp. We've went into a lower E-mod, so it sounds like we're going to be
That happened to me.
saving a lot of money on, well, we'll see. I still got to get them some numbers, but it looks like we're going to be saving some money on workers' comp. So that's some good news. Although our employee health insurance went up 5%. So that kind of, but other than that, I really have nothing else. I looked, every department I think has had some unforeseen expenditures, which they all do, but this year it seems like all of them were over $10,000. Vehicle repairs, flooring for the animal shelter, all that stuff. So, but they're all in pretty good shape. So
All of them, despite that, are at or under budget, except for the animal shelter. And so I've been thinking about that. The animal shelter budget is it's in the toilet. I mean, but it's the smallest budget we have. So it doesn't concern me too much, except I need to sit down with Caitlin and understand, is this the new reality? I guess is what I'm saying, because of her management and her adoption methodologies. And so it may be that the animal shelter expenditures simply are going to be higher in the future. And I don't know the answer to that
It's
yet.
not all just the floors.
It's not all just the floors.
If you look at their budget, if you look at the line items, it's significant. But overall, in the big picture, it's not really all that significant.
And I think part of it too has to do with experience and to manage an animal shelter, which she has not done before. You know, there's going to be a period where I'm sure she can, you know, learn more from you as far as budgeting and things to look for. And it's a process, you know, so yeah, this is her first year and she hasn't even been in the job a year. So
I agree, and I would also say I have not spent a significant amount of time sitting down with her and really working on this,
So I think that, you know, in all fairness, it may take a little time but it has been very hectic. There have been a lot of other things as well, so.
But I would say the result is, you
Yeah,
know,
the
my
floors look
impression
great.
is,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. No, when I went by, I was like, wow, this looks wonderful.
Okay,
I have a question on the fire expenditures and revenues. So back when we bought that tender so that to increase our fire department's ability to respond to wildfires elsewhere.
Mhm.
And like this was going to be very profitable and we could pay down the tender really fast. I'm wondering, Donna, where do payments for our department's response to outside wildfires, where do they show up under the revenues? Do they come in as a lump sum periodically throughout the year or? Because I can see all the wildfire or wildland supplemental program expenditures, wildfire deployment employee payments, you know, on the expenditure side. I'm just wondering where the payments that we get.
revenue, if that's what you're asking
Yeah,
for, is
yeah.
on page 22.
Yep.
And it's going to be the Forest Service payments fire.
Okay.
So yeah, this year, well, to September, we have 48,000, but we did just receive an $83,000
Okay.
in
So
October.
that's just sort of the sporadic.
It's sporadic. Yeah, it all depends. I mean, Bo Nickman is usually the ones that files those, but he also goes on wildfire deployment. So it depends on when he files.
Got it.
And it's usually pretty quick after he gets it filed, but
it used to take about 6 months, but it's gotten much better in the last, well, maybe just the last year.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the bills. Any questions about the bills?
I have a question about the bills. Under the, let me find it. Under police department, page 5 of the bills. Check number 76014, towing of stolen vehicles, $1,600. Where were we towing this to or from, or am I completely out of touch with how much it costs to tow a vehicle?
well, it was in storage for, and maybe you know how many days.
Yeah, what happened with that is
The vehicle in question belonged to the brother of a gentleman that lives up here, and his brother passed away. And then the vehicle was stolen and then recovered and confiscated and held as evidence. And the elderly gentleman who owns this vehicle, it was all in probate. This guy's his brother's property. And so it sat there for a long time, accruing these storage charges as a result of it being a stolen, recovered stolen. And the elderly gentleman that nominally owns it doesn't have the financial means to pay that kind of money, So that's why we decided to go ahead and pay it so he could get this vehicle back, because it was technically his vehicle.
It had just been
store it as evidence while
Yeah,
it was all going through probate.
exactly.
It was
Yeah.
$30 a day was the storage charge.
Yeah, it was
Parked it on my lot.
we don't, I mean, just, we had a little,
Yeah.
some mercy.
Yeah.
We, didn't- we don't want to stick this old guy with a
Yeah.
1,600, it wasn't his fault that it got stolen.
Yeah.
But I would say this, Commissioner Edwards and I have talked about this. It's actually been on our radar for some time. We need a city impact area. We don't have a great place for that, but what I've talked about is, we have Elm Street Park that has this gigantic prison fence around it. I hate that fence. And I want to see if we can move that out to the 11th Street city property, and at least for the time being, have an impound area
The fence.
that we fenced in impound, and by law, it has to be fenced in and locked. So I want to try and get that done this next summer, so we have our own impound area. We used to share an impound area with the sheriff years ago, and the sheriff, and this was before Sheriff Reyes, this was Sheriff Finsky, and they decided they didn't want to share that impound with us anymore. It was out at the landfill. And so we were cut off from use of that impound. Just a little bit of history. So it is my intention somehow to get us an impound, fenced in impound yard.
Otherwise, we pay $30 a day to store.
Well, typically that would be paid for by the person who goes to pick up their vehicle. In this particular case,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the police department decided to have mercy on somebody.
sounds complicated.
Yes, well, always.
Yeah.
Mayor, I have a question in the street department. It's just interesting. It says the 12 corporations under supplies. It's on page 6. Trash bags, 6 of them costing $309.60. What kind of trash bags are they?
Those are boxes of trash bags.
Okay. thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're cases,
Okay.
but they're for Main Street.
Boxes. Got it.
Titanium foil.
And they've got to be a
Just
little
making sure.
bit more durable. So that they're not picking up trash off the street.
This is what you contact, this is, I signed all the bills, I went, wait a second. Well, after Donna, we had to do a little bit of research.
Tell it to Nevada.
We'll have to say the table we paid for last month turned out very beautiful.
Isn't that thing gorgeous?
Thank you, certainly.
Yeah, the other one's upstairs. We're going to reorganize the copy room. Actually, we're gonna get to, be in the copy room this evening, but we need to reorganize that copy room. We're actually to put that old table in there. I've been trying to give it away. I've tried Building Generation, Full Circle, C4, County, anybody who I thought could use it, and nobody wanted it. So I decided I just can't throw it away. I just can't bring myself to throw it away. So we'll use it up in that room. It'll dominate the room, but it'll be okay.
We'll say maybe we could afford a clock at some point.
What do we need a clock for?
I can't tell if it's daytime or nighttime.
She doesn't want to miss his bedtime. That's right. He didn't say anything about a bedtime tonight.
It's not his bedtime. He has to go to bed so he can go fishing.
That's a bedtime.
Okay, any other questions about the bills? I would entertain a motion, please.
Councilmember Fujensi moves to approve paying the bills.
30 seconds.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. At this time, we have a presentation. This is the quarterly update from the Tabor Opera House Preservation Foundation. If you would, please, the podium is all yours.
Thank you very much, council, for letting us give you an update tonight. I'm Amy Tate, Carl Schaefer is here tonight as well. It'll be short. You guys have in your packets our pictures of, we're mainly talking about rehabilitation tonight. So we've got what we've accomplished so far. We've got the south elevation during and after that was accomplished in the summer of 2020. Most of you remember that, I'm sure. And then this year, hopefully you've seen this. The front all scaffolding is on, and this is the before and after, and it's pretty incredible what was accomplished. They're still working on the front entrance. Either the plastic is over it, so they're still completing some of the brickwork around that, and they were able to complete on the other side the cleaning the brick for the ghost sign, and they'll do the painting of that next year. It's got 2 full days. So the next thing that we're really fundraising for, writing grants for, is the north and east side elevations. So here's our before picture. We'll have a very grand after picture next year. And so currently, the south and west elevations were 1.5 million, and there's the sources of the grant funding that we had for that, plus the contribution from the city of Leadville. Thank you very much for $20,000. And then we've got the north and east elevations. We need 1.3 million to do that. And we've got 4 grants pending, plus the 50,000 that we were able to secure for the Gates Foundation. So, or 3 grants pending, plus we have 300,000 in state tax credits that we're going to leverage to do that. So that's kind of where we're at with the exterior renovation, rehabilitation. And you guys have any questions? We kind of want to come and do this quarterly and just do kind of a small snippet of what, this is definitely not everything we're doing, but do a small snippet of what we're up to.
What time frame or something for this newest, grant funding effort, with $1.3 million? In what time frame are some of these grants likely or hopefully going to come through?
That is a good question. Jenny knows more about the exact. I think one of them, and I couldn't say which one. I think one of them is December. I think that there's even one this month that we're supposed to hear on. But I mean, I think that we get to know by January or February whether we're going to be able to proceed or not, based on these. And if not, we'll have to look other places to come up with the complete funding, because we have to start, hiring the contractor and stuff like that to continue. But Jenny would know for sure. I can get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's just mostly just, being inquisitive. A couple things. I was in the Tabor Opera House last week, and we were turning the water off, which you normally do in the fall, but this year is different. The water is going to stay on the lower floor of the building, and Parkville actually asked us to not turn off the water, going to the street, because they didn't want to turn that tap off. And so that's what we've done this year for the first time in, who knows, maybe 60 or 70 years. There's going to be water in the Tabor Opera House during the winter, and they put a number of heaters in there. I mean, it's not the complete job, but it's progress in terms of heating the Tabor Opera House, appropriately for right now, because they're not really having events in the winter time. So that was great. And then Carl helped us put a flag up. In fact, well, he helped by filming mostly. Putting the new flag up on top of the Tabor Opera House, and I purchased a flag that was made out of different material that is supposed to hold up better. We'll see. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. Any questions, please? I will tell you that it feels like the the Tabor Arborist Preservation Foundation has really gained momentum in terms of restoration. And I think it's stalled because, I mean, I think events need to happen, don't get me wrong. You know, I've always felt that way. But I think that the lull in events has actually given the board the ability to focus on the restoration rather than events. And that seems to be working. So thank you.
Yeah, well, let's hope we don't
Yeah.
have a reason for a lull. much further. But I would definitely say that's been, you know, there's no reason to not do anything if we've got something to do, so. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
At this time, Christiana is on the line. We are going to go into executive session. We're going to go upstairs to do that. And it will just be city council with Christiana on the Zoom. Everybody else is welcome to hang out. I don't think we're going to be in executive session for a long time, but those are my famous last words. I know. At this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Gowan moves to go into executive session.
Green seconds.
Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Lobby.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Mayor, can we use the motion in the script because we have to cite to the appropriate section of the statute before going into executive session?
Okay, thank you. As usual, I'm being a cowboy. Okay,
Do we have that?
I will, I have it. I'll make the
Oh,
motion
I was gonna
myself.
say, I don't have it.
Mayor Lobby moves to go into executive session under section 24-6-4024B of the Colorado Revised Statutes for legal advice concerning deed restrictions related to the rail yard Phase 2 PUD application. I further move to reconvene the October 19th regular city council meeting at the conclusion of the executive session in order to proceed with the remaining items on the agenda for the October 19th regular meeting. Do I have a second?
Gowan seconds.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Lobby.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Green.
Yes.
Councilmember Fergenski.
Yes.
Councilmember Hill.
Yes.
Councilmember Tharp.
Yes.
Councilmember Gowing.
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we are going to, I think we'll take a 5-minute break and then meet in the upstairs executive boardroom.
Sir?